So further to that, the person signing the document, whether it's a senior official or the designated third party, they have to attest, number one, that your products do not meet the risk criteria. So again, it's up to you to identify the products that fall outside the scope of UPLAR. As well, you need to attest that the products for which you're requesting an exemption number are manufactured, packaged, labeled, and are imported under a valid site license. One form will be submitted per company, and you list only the submission numbers that you wish to be exempted. One change is that you do have 60 days from the date of eligibility to request the exemption number. In the initial version of the proposed regulations, you only had 30 days. So they've given industry additional time to discuss whether they want to have the exemption number or not. So once you've completed that, and that's the first couple of pages of the fax back form, you also need to consent to the posting of information on the website. So many of you might have seen that there's already a natural health products exempted products database online. It's live and it's being populated as we speak. So in terms of sending back this fax back form, if you're requesting an exemption number, you're also confirming, giving your consent to Health Canada to post the following information within this database on their website. So the information that will show are the applicant's name or the company name, the exemption number, and the exemption number is your submission number preceded by the letters EN, the brand name of the product that's being exempted as well as the dosage form. It will also show the exemption status. So if the product is valid, it has a valid exemption number, it will show up. It's a number in good standing. If it's not valid, it means the exemption number obviously is no longer valid. This may be because it was suspended. The application might have been refused or withdrawn. So the exemption number is no longer valid. If the product has been reviewed in its entirety and issued a license, then it will show the number of the license. So the three statuses would be valid, not valid, or license issued. And again, this is a searchable database. As I say, there's close to 900 products listed in there at noon hour today, and the number is increasing. Again, you need the signature of the authorized senior official or designated third party and the date. So this is all information that needs to be completed on the fax back form. It's approximately 3 pages. There is some additional information that's required. Section 5 of UPLAR clarifies the need to submit site licensing information before going to market. So if you have a product that's already on the market, you're requesting an exemption number for it, you must at the same time identify the site licensing information for that product. This would involve completing Part 3 of the product license application form, which gives the name of the company, their contact information, the activities that they're conducting, whether it's packaging, labeling, importing, or manufacturing, and the applicable site license numbers. Again, you have 2 options to complete. Option A, that all the products that you're requesting exemption numbers for are manufactured, packaged, labeled, or imported by one specific company, or that there's different activities being conducted at different sites, and therefore you need to list all the sites and the applicable site license and submission numbers. Again, it needs to be signed by the authorized senior official or designated third party and dated. So if there's not a completed designated third-party authorization form on file, you must as well submit it with your fax back form. And it's probably not a bad idea, even if they do have a completed designated party authorization form on file, it's probably not a bad idea to submit another one with your exemption request. Then they'll have all the information together in one place. Okay, so if your product's already on the market, you're requesting an exemption number, you must submit the site licensing information at the same time as the request for the exemption number. If you haven't gone to market but you're requesting an exemption number, you can submit the information now as well. It's just one less thing to do later on. So you can proactively provide the information to the Natural Health Products Directorate. So when do you request An exemption number, and again, I point out that this is a voluntary process. There may be business reasons why you do not want to request an exemption number. So you do not have to opt into it. But on the other hand, you need to remember that if you get an exemption number, it makes your product legal for sale. You're deemed to hold a product license. So that's important to a lot of retailers, particularly pharmacies. So you need to think carefully about whether you want to opt in and request an exemption number or not. So for products that have been in queue for 180 days or more as of August 4th, again, that's 180 days from the date you've received your submission number. You have 60 days to request your exemption number from the Natural Health Products Directorate. As well, for products with a submission number and they've been in queue for 180 days or less, you can still preemptively opt in. So the information, again, that came out on Friday, that fax back form, you can use that for any products that already have a submission number. As long as you have a submission number, you can fill out all the information that's required on that form and send it in. Once you meet the 180-day criteria, then your product will automatically be entered into the database and you will have your exemption number. So it's just minimizing the steps. But again, if you've been in queue for over 180 days, then you only have that 60 days to get your exemption number request in. For all the other products, you say you can request it proactively or you can wait till the 180 days comes up, but then you have 60 days to make your application. So it's better to do it sooner rather than later. So for products that are in queue now but have not yet received a submission number, you will be getting an application acceptance letter from the Natural Health Products Directorate. Within this letter, it will identify your submission number, which will potentially become your exemption number down the road. It will tell you if your product is eligible, i.e. does not meet the risk criteria so that it's eligible for an exemption number. It will tell you the date of eligibility, so 180 days down the road from the date of issuing the submission number. It will also identify how you go about getting the exemption number, how you apply for it, and that you have 60 days from the date of eligibility to opt in if you so choose. As well, for new applications, anything submitted as of August 4th, the same thing, your product license application will go in the system. Once it's deemed to be complete, all the information is there. You will get an application acceptance letter as well, and it'll tell you the same things, whether your product is eligible to apply for an exemption number, when that date is, the 60 days beyond that, which you have to apply your submission number, which will potentially become your exemption number. So the key thing to remember is if you already have a submission number, you use the fax back form that came out via email on Friday. If you have not yet received a submission number or for future applications, you need to wait until you get your application acceptance letter and or the form, a new form is going to be posted on the website. So you cannot use the current form for products that back. My apologies for that. I'm not quite sure what happened, but computers tend to have a mind of their own sometimes. So we'll get back on track. So again, the key takeaway from this is that product has been issued a submission number, then you can use the fax back form that was mailed to you on Friday. If you've not received, you have to use a new form that's to be posted shortly on the Health Canada website. The difference. The other thing with new applications, send the form right at the same time that you do. So again, just eliminating some of the steps. Okay, as mentioned, the exemption number is not valid until it appears in the database. And the database is live. It's the Natural Health Products Exempted Products Database. It gives the information that we talked about previously. There's close to 900 products in there now, and it will be going up daily as more and more products become eligible for exemption numbers. So again, once the information is posted in the database, you're deemed to hold a product license. You are legal for sale in Canada. Again, the exemption number must appear on your product label within a reasonable period of time, which could be your next label run, but up to 12 months is generally the time that you will have to get your exemption number on your label. Again, it will be to your benefit as retailers as well as consumers will be looking for that exemption number. And the exemption number, again, is your 6-digit submission number preceded by the capital letter E, capital letter N. So you cannot put your exemption number on your label until it is entered into the database and it is valid. So once you fax back the forms to the government, within about 5 working days maximum, the information should be appearing in the database. As I say, people were applying on Friday and information was appearing there as early as Monday. So it's a fairly quick turnaround at this point in time. You should also, once the information is submitted and you've checked to see that your information is in the database, you should do a double check to ensure that the information is correct. Again, your marketed product must be consistent with the information upon which the exemption number was issued. So you are allowed to make notifications, anything that does not affect the safety, quality, and efficacy of the product. But in general, your product license application upon which you got the exemption number should be reflected in what's in your marketed product. Again, similar to a product license, a natural product license, deemed licenses, those with exemption numbers, can be suspended, they can be canceled. Also, stop sale orders can still be issued. So even though you have an exemption number, if a health risk is identified, any of these actions, compliance actions, can be taken. Again, you need to provide the site licensing information before you go to sale. So when you request your exemption number, you can provide that information, be proactive in giving the information. It's important to note that even when you get your exemption number, the complete review of your application will continue to the point that you're either issued a natural product number or you are refused a product license. So the review continues even after you get your exemption number. If your product license application is refused, your exemption number is no longer valid and you can no longer sell the product. And in the database, it will show up under EN as not valid. The same, an exemption number is valid until the product is licensed, issued, or, a license is issued, refused, or withdrawn. So if a stop sale or recall is initiated after an exemption number is received, the exemption number would be suspended and you would need to get a license before returning to the market. However, your product license application will still continue to be assessed. So again, even if a stop sale order or your license is suspended, it will still continue to be evaluated. Again, if your marketed product is not consistent with the terms under which the exemption number was granted, your EN could be suspended, again, depending upon the risk posed by the product. If your exemption number is suspended, the inspector will be provided with that information. So they will know if they see that product on the market that the exemption number has been suspended and that you should not be selling that product. Okay, so again, it's important to note that if the exemption number is suspended, the inspector will be made aware of that information. As well, it will show up in the database as not being valid. Again, because UPLAR is a standalone regulation, the natural health products regulations themselves still continue to apply. So requirements, for example, for site licensing, for good manufacturing practices, for record maintenance, for adverse reaction reporting, labeling, and packaging, in general, they still all apply. There are a few regulatory requirements that don't apply. Amendments and fundamental changes cannot be made to products that have exemption numbers. You can make notifications, and again, this is a change from the first publication of the proposed regulations. You can make notifications, so any changes that do not affect the safety, efficacy, and or quality of your product, you can make for an exempted product with an exemption number. However, amendments and fundamental changes cannot be made to a product with an exemption number. Site information, again, it's clarified within UPLAR that the information, the site licensing information must be provided before the product goes to market. And again, there's some exemptions regarding the positioning of the product number versus the exemption number on a product.